Hello! I am your host, the amazing Patrick Robo, but I'm not so amazing today. See, I'm interviewing another amazing gentleman today. He is the master of art. He may be the anime lord, but he's here today to show his creations. He is the one, the only, Prisum. Introduce yourself, sir.
안녕하세요. 자스냐! Sorry about that, need to put my translator on. Hey guys, Blue here. What you'll find on my channel is art, speed paints, song covers, and hopefully soon, the first episode of Quartz Quarterly. Let your criticize blossom.
So, I was almost going to say, I was going to ask you to explain who you are for people who don't know you, but you pretty much summed up who you are. But do you want to say anything else about yourself for people who may not know you?
Basically, all you really need to know about me is I'm one of the artists of the Rift City, who actually has pretty decent prices, commissions are open, and also one of the main productive people of the city.
Oof. But we'll get to your prices and get to your commissions when we get to that. But one of my first things I want to ask, and the most obvious question I think everyone gets asked, is how did you get into My Little Pony?
Well, it was actually about 5th grade, and my brother was talking with one of his friends, and they were watching My Little Pony. I ended up getting asked, hey, you want to watch an episode with us? I was like, yeah, sure. I don't know what the show's about. And then I saw the first episode that I ever watched, which was Look Before You Sleep. It started off pretty funny, and then gradually we kept watching every Saturday, and then I became full-on brony.
What an amazing story. I'm surprised of all the episodes, probably one of the worst in season 1. Look Before You Sleep is easily one of the does not hold up very well when looked back on. Or do you
I mainly liked it because of the whole Truth or Dare scene.
True. Do you hold it close to your heart because it's your first, or just
It's just because it was actually a moment of me and my brother spending time together.
Oof. And how did you get into art, of all things? How did you get into drawing?
Well, in 5th grade, again, a lot of the stuff stems back from 5th grade. I took basketball up as a hobby, but sadly because of bullying, I ended up quitting it. Then I ended up joining band in 6th grade, and that really ignited my creative drive, to the point where I was actually practicing drawing and creating. It was mostly like little flowers and like fashion designs, but then it stemmed into anime and ponies.
So a bad thing turned into a good thing then, potentially.
Yep.
And what kind of art style would you say you have compared to other artists?
I would say that it's more, I try to anime-ify certain things, but at the same time I do go for more like, how do I put it? I try to have a mystical effect sometimes. But all in all, I'd say that my style is generally more anime-esque. Because big, bold eyes, shininess. And of course, the ever-classic thing that you like to reference whenever we play Quiplash, Roberry, are the school uniforms.
Yes. It is the cliche in every anime, though. It is the cliche girls must wear the shortest skirts possible that is somehow hiding everything, but not at the same time. It's quite impressive.
Fun fact, Roberry, actually, they actually do that in anime because actual Japanese schoolgirls do have a very bad habit of rolling up their skirt, or even hemming them to be that short. True actual skirts in Japan schools are actually at least a centimeter above the knee or lower, but no more than lower than mid-shin, otherwise then you got a delinquent skirt.
See, I want to ask you the question, where did your fascination of Japan start? And
it was actually from 4th grade when we had to do research on countries. I got Japan.
And is that
mainly though, I wanted to talk about like their food, but then I started learning about their entire culture.
Is that how you got into anime?
Kinda, sorta. Mainly because I was actually watching 4Kids TV one day, and I saw Kirby right back at ya.
The Beta 4 Kids! The Beta 4 Kids! Don't remind me.
Well, it was actually Kirby right back at ya that I always watched.
Okay.
The other shows could go suck a ding dong.
Everyone just had an aneurysm from just hearing the word 4 kids. Aneurysm. Press A to have an aneurysm in the chat. But what fascinates you about the history and the culture of Japan? What really drives you to learn more about it?
I've actually always liked the appearance of like natural things, and Japan's been always associated with more like nature. Considering their kanji literally has a tree in it, Nihon has tree and sun, which when you think of a tree and a sun, what do you immediately think of? Nature.
Because I know some people are interested into Japanese mythology because they have some really interesting mythological characters like Baba Yaga and quite a few others.
That's another thing. Plus also some of their folk tales, like Tatebana.
Want to explain who Taga Yaga is to the crowd?
Hold on, I think it was actually Tanabata.
You're going to pronounce it better than I fucking can.
Tanabata means Evening of the Seventh, also known as the Star Festival, Hoshi Matsuri. It is a Japanese festival that celebrates the meaning of the deities Orihime and Hikoboshi, represented by the stars Vega and Altair, respectively.
Oh.
Basically, it's a festival of the star-crossed lovers. Because a guy had to help to weave 1,000 bamboo samples to grow a bamboo stalk tall enough to meet the goddess that he actually met, who was taking a bath in the river.
Ah, Japan! Typical
And
Japan.
in order to prove his loyalty, her father and her left him to monitor their watermelon field for 7 days and 6 nights. On the 7th day, he couldn't take it anymore, and he actually took one of the watermelons to actually drink because he wasn't able to eat or drink anything. Thus released a flow of water, aka the stars. And once every year on the 7th of July, the two lovers could actually meet. However, if it rains on Tanabata, then that means that they aren't able to meet, because in order for them to meet, they have to have the geese form a bridge for them.
Why geese? Why
At
geese?
least I think it's geese. Hold on, I'm gonna go really quickly and check, make sure I'm correct on it. Let's see. Okay, it wasn't geese, it was magpie.
Ah.
Orihime cried so much that a flock of magpie came and promised to make a bridge with the wings so she could cross the river. It is said that if it rains on Tanabata, the magpies cannot come because of the rise of the river, and the two lovers must wait until another year to meet. The rain on this day is called Orihime to Hikoboshi no Namia, the tears of Orihime and Hikoboshi.
Wow, that's really, 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 really interesting. We could be here all day talking about Japanese mythology, but I think a lot of people came here to learn more about you. And one of the things I know about you is you do commissions. What's it like doing art as for a friend and art as a commission? What is the difference for you specifically?
Well, art for just friends is more chill, laid back, and casual because they don't expect it to be done really fast. But with a commission, I actually put myself under a time limit to get it done, because I've seen cases in the past where people have made a commission and then 6 months later they get their commission when they should get it within like 2 to 3 business days, which kind of sucks because they end up feeling like they wasted their money. So with doing commissions, I figure I give them the best quality work that I can, but also let them know, hey, you'll hit this in like 1 to 2 weeks.
I find
That's
that
really about
interesting
it.
that you prioritize time then of all things. That's really interesting.
Yep.
And
Because
how do you keep your artwork consistent and high quality in such a short time frame?
for me, I usually have one day when I'm working on it where I will work directly specifically on the sketching, then maybe work on line art a little bit. The next day will be focused on line art and applying flat colors and ensuring that I don't have that dreaded very, very, very thin white line that appears around the edge of the coloring that drives most digital artists nuts. And you can kind of now gather the picture. Each day is spent specifically on a different part of the piece. Sketching, line art, coloring, shading, highlighting, which I, fun fact, call my highlighting Nikki tutorials. And then, like, background and lighting effects, such as, say they're outside and they're walking to town, having like a sun ray effect. Which my art isn't just associated with MLP and anime. I actually do furry art. And with me saying that, we probably lost 17 viewers.
So when you say lighting effects, what does that actually mean? So lighting effects as in the picture that's going to be used for the title card, yes. And how do you lay that on when you say layers? What does that actually mean to a normal person like me who doesn't understand?
Well, if you think about art like an onion is made up of different layers. Each layer actually is part of the onion. Kind of like in art, there's different layers. Typically, my layers, though, if you're wondering, are set up like this. Layer 1 is usually used for sketching, and then when I get the sketches done, I go to layer 2, which I make for my line art. Then after I get line art done, I will clear out layer 1 to make it for my flat colors. Then I put layers in between those. For example, layer 3 will be, because I put it between layers 1 and 2, I put layer 3, which is my shading, 4, which is my highlight. 5, I will add like little cleanup touches, such as like, say a character specifically has to have shine on their eyes, example, mine, and so on and so forth. Then afterwards, I will take all those layers that are for the characters itself, and I will not package them, that's putting them into a zip file. I will put them in a folder, and then I will close and lock that folder to where I can't edit it anymore. Then I will work on the background. Work on like adding, well, as you can see in the picture that everybody's going to flash up on screen, my persona and one of my friends is. And after I get all the character stuff done, I then move on. After I've locked the folder, I work on the background, which in the picture you see is sort of like a sort of wall with a window that's leading to like a bit of a murder scene. I know, it's very dark. After I get the background done, I will then put all that and lock those layers, then go up above the character layer and create 3 new layers. The first new layer will be for like little steam effects, an example, with the cup of tea. Then I will add on the next layer, like sort of a bluey, reddy, purpley tone gradient to make it seem a little bit darker. Then I will, on the last layer above, add like little stage light effect, like it's shining a spotlight. And then at the end, I will add my artist signature and watermark.
So why'd you add a? So may I ask, why'd you add a signature and a watermark? What does that do? May I ask? I know that sounds like
the signature is letting people know, obviously, who drew it, and also to give it my more personal touch. The watermark, though, I add in a specific area that I only know of to ensure that no one steals it. Because if I find it posted again, and I didn't give people permission to post it, I can then literally message them like, hey, you kind of took my art piece without asking permission. Please take it down or at least credit me. Because art theft is a big issue that a lot of us face.
Yeah. And slightly moving on from that topic, you do commissions, may I say. What are your prices? If you need to, you can send me like a little price sheet that you have, and you can go talk about it.
That I can, because I have the price sheet usually always ready to go.
Do you have the money? I'll give you the money.
Boop. There is the price sheet.
So, do you want to explain what the price sheet means for people who may not understand what a price sheet is, and how people understand what it is and what is the right thing for them?
So, with my commission guide, or as I call it, the Prismatic Commission Guide, Commission's Pricing Guide 2020, it lists like exactly what I mean by a rough sketch and a clean sketch, which are both $1.50. Line art is usually black lines, but if you want colorful line art, that is usually an extra $1 because I have to protect alpha and then color in where the things need color. For example, the head itself, the hair, the uniform, the wings, and then flat colors. Flat colors are what you kind of can see where it's just like flat. And I have so many Twitter notifications popping up when I'm doing an interview.
I can't hear them, so don't worry about it.
Anyways, again, flat colors are usually going to be just flat, but again, like I said, have to fill in around the edges to ensure I don't have that annoying white speck. And again, colorful lines. Shading is where it gets more fun because I have 3 different shading styles. The airbrush, which is like I use the airbrush tool. That's sort of like a soft, blended, blurred look. Cell shading is where it's just sort of like I take a color, and then just like move around in the specific shape where the lighting is needed, and then it's just like, boom. The shading, there it goes. Watercolor is where I will use my watercolor brush tool to create like sort of a watercolor blended look. And the highlighting is where I will do 2. I have subtle, which is more using the airbrush in very light concentrations. And then there's Nikki Tutorials, which is just like, BAM! Right in your face. And below usually has like backgrounds and extras, free to $5 per extra item, depending on complexity. And of course I have the whole like, I will not draw NSFW, political, violence, gore, vor, anything that's like that. That's the initial pricing guide. But the one on the side.
Do you if the person wants more than one character? Does that do you have like an applier or stuff like that, or how does that work?
That's an extra item, and that's free to $5 per extra item.
Okay.
So pretty cheap, actually. Then of course I have packages. There's a $10 package, which is the haiku package, which includes everything in the subtle highlights order, plus seeing the progress, a natural background, and a haiku about the piece, written in Japanese. Handwritten by me.
My piece needed a haiku because, yes!
And it won't be typed. It'll actually be handwritten using my sumi brush.
Explain.
And then, of course, there's...
Wait. What does that mean? So what's a sumi brush? What's Titan, not Titans?
Typing is where you use the keyboard to type it. But the sumi brush is a brush that I use in my software that gives the effect of an ink brush that's used in, like, calligraphy.
Okay, that makes sense. Carry on.
And then the last package that I have, which is the most expensive that I offer, is the Vavavoom package. Because if you want it, it's going to be Vavavoom.
Vavavoom, but carry on.
With the Vavavoom package, you get everything in a subtle highlights order. Seeing the progress. The art gets made into a speed paint on my channel. You get a private one-on-one Discord call with me, and a shout-out on my Twitter, YouTube, and also the DeviantArt page I have. Then, of course, I do YouTube thumbnails, channel, and Twitter headers. The YouTube stuff is $15. The Twitter headers are $10. And comics are $5 per panel. But if you want manga-style colors, that's $2 per panel. And I will explain manga coloring by having River show 2 images that were actually recently featured in one of my YouTube videos. For manga style, for the regular style colors, I have it like this, where it's all the regular colors. But manga style, actually, rather than using that one, River, how about I let you use the one that I recently drew from my friend Lefty? Yep, and it's manga. It's manga. And here's manga. Because I have to convert everything into a halftone layer, and then reshade everything.
So the way manga works, it's like reshading and half layering everything and basically mangifying it.
Basically, the halftones basically make it to where the thing that you want for the color is turned gray, but it's given a certain way that's hatched or shaded itself to appear like that color.
What I might do is have both on the screen and just have an arrow, but I'll see what I can do in the editing.
Yeah.
So, if future Patrick, everyone watching, left is non-manga, right is manga, or first is non-manga and second is manga. However I edit this. Getting back to the questions, what is the best way for people to commission you? Is it Instagram? Is it DA? Is it by PayPal? Or is it by combination of the three?
The best way to commission me is by sending me a DM on Twitter with your details. Being like, hey, I'm here to ask about a commission. Then we can talk about the whole commission details. And once I get everything written down, I will write up your receipt. This is actually to ensure that I know exactly what you want. And once I send you that...
This is my good friend. And you're going to commission him. And when you commission him, you're going to do him right. Because he's a cheap artist and you're going to look after him. I know some people try to run away with art, but that's wrong. No one should do that. It's just as bad as stealing art, but much worse. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
But
indeed.
And especially for an artist who's high quality, good value, and easy to talk to and very friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And before I go on to my final questions, actually I want to surprise Blue a little bit. See, you guys may not know this, but me and Blue know each other very well because we've worked on quite a lot of projects. We've organised a lot of stuff together, and we've worked a lot over the past 4 years now? 5, maybe 4? I've lost track.
We've met in 2017 whenever we were starting to talk in the Rose City. So we first met each other, so about 3 years.
Okay, 3 years. And over the years, we've had successful things and we've had bad things. And we both agreed that we want to talk about the story because it's an interesting story. And I think it shouldn't be just lost. And I think Blue does agree with that as well. And as the project leader and as he was the project artist, I think it's interesting to see what went wrong. Because we had a project a while back called Ponies in the Eyes. Do you want to explain what Ponies in the Eyes was?
Okay, so to explain the project, in Britain they have a show called Stars in Your Eyes, and it is similar to The Voice. Only...
Or The Masked Singer. The Masked Singer is a good example as well.
Yeah, but The Voice is usually an easy example that I can think of. basically, people will come out dressed as celebrities and they will sing that song. And then they will be judged. With the project, we originally had a lot of people coming in for it. We had someone being Michael Jackson, we had Chuck Berry. Rowberry chose Forest Rain, which, if you want, please pop up the picture that I drew for you for that.
I definitely will do that. It's a cool. It's actually, I will try get all the pictures because we had Fast Track as Chuck Berry. We had Lasers was never done, but Laser was meant to be the guy from
My Chemical Romance.
My Chemical Romance. Romance Writer. This is back in the day when we liked Romance Writer. Was meant to be Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey. Sorry, my English is terrible,
who is able to hit this note, which I shall now give everyone an example of what would happen during the song. But I like the way I feel inside.
But
too loud?
Nah, not too loud. You're fine. But yeah, we had different people taking part, and sadly the project just collapsed.
Because we weren't really able to constantly communicate with each other about it.
No.
There'd be some times where it'd be like a week or two before we get a DM from someone. And sometimes we wouldn't get a DM back until like 4 months later.
It's one of the things we learned when doing the project was we went too big in our first project, and I think we've learned that now, and you've kind of see that with future projects there. We've shrunk the projects down to manageable things. We're not overthinking things. We're not trying to do big things. We're trying to do small things, and then we learn from those small things to then do big things. A lot of people make the mistake of trying to do big projects as their first project, which they should not do. And I think we did that. We learned from that, and now we've brought everything back. Would you agree with that?
Indeed.
And what did you learn, Bloom?
Well, for starters, I learned that if we're going to do a project, we need to have better communication.
Yes, we need better communication.
And we also need to pick dates that are actually good for pretty much everyone, because something else I noticed is that a lot of the times when we were going to have the meetings, it was on a day that 6 people were like busy.
And we tell you this because, look, we're human. I think Blue is as human as I am. And I think we both agree people are allowed to make mistakes, and I think we're not allowed to be as human as we're allowed to be sometimes with the internet. And I feel like maybe Ponies and Eyes will become a project in the future. Maybe it won't, but at least you know it was a thing we tried. It may have not been successful, but we've learned from it.
Indeed.
Is there any advice you can give to people starting their own projects?
If you're going to start a project, make sure you commit to it. Never give up. Because if you give up, then your project's going to really crumble. Anyways, another thing besides committing to your project, make sure you schedule dates that are good for everyone. Take polls for like, hey, what days would be good for you? Or, hey, what days would not be good for you? And above all else, make sure your communications are always on point. And the last thing, don't be afraid of failure. Because that's actually another thing that happens whenever people are doing like big projects. They're afraid to fail. Because if you allow yourself to be afraid of failure, then the project is going to fail. It's going to be like, well, what's an example of a famous cartoon that did fail? Aha, I know a good one. the spin-off of Rugrats featuring just Angelica and Susie.
Yeah. Do you have any words of wisdom for our audience that you want to just give? Just any random words of wisdom that you've learned?
Well, one thing for sure as well, because I know right now the world is kind of a dark place. Because a lot of things are going around. We've had issues with war. We've had issues with a certain... I'm just censoring that word. And also more cyber harassment. But just remember, while we may all... A quote by Sia that comes to mind. We're all a little broken. But the last time I checked, broken crayons still color the same. Basically meaning, while you might be broken and feel like you lost all your color, don't give up because that color is still there.
I like that. I really like that. Is there any last words you want to say before we end?
Aside from that, my last thing I really want to say is, remember to let your creative sides blossom.
Thank you. Well, I really do appreciate you being here, Blue. It's always lovely to have you on stream. Always been able to have you as a good friend to talk to, and just a good, amazing artist to rely on as always.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was one more thing I wanted to mention. As I was saying, shall I just say it? Okay, so for those who don't know, HawkCon was recently announced to be basically discontinued, which really does suck because it was a good con. But don't worry, a lot of us in the Burning community are working on online conventions that are similar to it. Recently, the Rift Cafe did something called the Rift Cafe Live, which didn't have such a decent turnout, but that's because there wasn't much advertising. Roberry and I, and many others right now, in one particular area, are working on a con, but the details of that con still will be a secret. You'll just have to wait and find out. By following the Rift City Twitter, and also following all of us on Twitter. BluePrism32 on Twitter, and I don't remember Roberry's. Exposition.
What do you not remember?
Get
What do you not remember?
your Twitter handle.
I don't have one.
Wait, you don't have Twitter?
No. I just use the Rift City Twitter to troll everyone.
Get a Twitter!
Never.
And I also forgot to mention another thing about me. Apparently I have a decent Jasper Pie impression.
Ooh. That's a bad impression.
Mainly though if I'm yelling.
That's a bad impression to have. Why would you want to be that?
No, a bad impression to have would be with Laserhawk.
I'll edit that bit out of the video. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyways, back to what we were talking about with the whole econs thing. We're keeping this detail a secret though, so if you're gonna want to know, be sure to follow us on the Rift City Twitter, because we may make an announcement there. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yes, I will, don't you worry. But, thank you for being an amazing guest. No, I was going to do it once! No, I was going to do it once!
Yeah, for those who don't know, there's actually a running joke on the Rift City where Roberry confuses Laserhawk and I
was going to go throughout the entire interview without... you know what? Goodbye. That's how I'm going to end it. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Johnny!
Goodbye.